Hello there. Welcome. Today, I want to talk a little bit about influences on our labor and birth, our pregnancy, and ultimately our relationship with our child. Because when I teach, a lot of the things I think about are relationships. When I first became a mom, what was really important to me was to do what I could to not only impact the physical health and well-being of my child, but also their emotional life. And I wanted them to really know that they were loved. That was really, really important to me. And so the building of that relationship, that starts in pregnancy. So you're not waiting until your baby's born to have a relationship. You already have a relationship with your child when you're pregnant. So just think about that for a second, right? So let's talk about these influences. What influences our relationship and what influences the labor and birth, right? Because part of that is about being in a relationship. So a lot of times, we think about a baby, and I just want to give credit first that with these Russian nesting dolls, that give credit to Kate White. She was the one who made me aware of using this as a model to explain these rings of support and relationship and the influences I have. So thanks, Kate. So here's baby, right? Baby, often we think about baby as just an individual, separate. But is baby really separate? We know in pregnancy, the baby's inside the mother. So the baby, when we look at human consciousness and birth psychology, and if you haven't ever checked out APA, which is the Association of Pre and Perinatal Psychology and Health, I really recommend you check it out. And there's a online summit this month. It's March, Birth Psychology Month, so that's free if you want to find out a little bit more about these influences. But a baby, right? So babies have consciousness in utero. They're having experiences. They're having feelings. They're making decisions about who they are. Um, Not just alone, though, in relationship to the world. So their first world, their first environment is their mother, right? So baby's in this field, right? This field of the mother. So the mother is the baby's environment, immediate environment. So mom's feelings, her experiences, right? Baby lives in her chemical soup. These messages the mom's always giving to the baby, right? Uh, And that's important. That's the feel. So babies learning about the world in general and about themselves through mother. So baby has their own experiences and thoughts, and mother has her own experiences, thoughts, and the mother's environment around her, her feelings, everything impact baby because baby has also a response to that and is aware of the mother. So the mother is a field for the baby. And as moms, we really want to believe that we can control all of this, that we know that we're a big influence on our babies, and we get that mom guilt, right? Oh, we're not doing enough, or this and that, right? So that's normal because we care, we love our children, yet we're not all alone, we're not isolated. So many mothers and babies have a partner, that immediate environment. So the mom, right? It's the babies one field, the mother's another field, and then there's a partner. Most often a father. Sometimes there's not a partner. When there's not a partner, the people that the mother lives with, right? Or extended family may be the field. That field's coming up. Let's say there's a partner. So a dad. This is a field for the mother as well. And she lives in that field. That's immediate. This person has an immediate influence on the mother and the baby. So dad also has a relationship with the baby as well. Right? So there's this influence. This little nuclear family, a lot of times you talk about the nuclear family, like they make all the decisions on their own. Yet this is not true, is it? The nuclear family that has their own extended family, friends that influence their life. This is their field that has an influence on them. So and what does that look like? That's different for everybody. So they may have a lot of support, an integrated family, positive, everyone's there for each other. I always love when I see that. And some don't. Sometimes families haven't been brought up with that, or those supports have fallen apart, or there's not a lot of relatives, or they're toxic relationships, or we're far apart and there's just physical distance, even though there might be that emotional support. What does that field look like? That has an influence, a big influence. And then when we talk about our families and what that looks like, our extended families and friends, that lives in a bigger field, right? That is a field of society, culture at large. There's different cultures, different societies. I live in an American society, so my family and I are influenced by that, and the supports that are there are not there. So that's a bigger field that each field is inside, and that has an influence on each field. So when I think about and talk about relationships, because I really am so driven by thinking about relationships and how our relationships are impacted and affected. They're affected by all these things. So let's talk about the culture at large and talk about American culture. And especially when we're talking about pregnancy, labor and birth, early years of our child's life, which are so influential on the development of our child and the human being in general. So American culture is, I would say these supports are pretty horrible. So there is in general for the culture at large, like there's some things we can enjoy in our culture, but we don't even have basic things like maternity leave that's adequate, or paternity leave, or understanding what pregnant women need. Our culture of birth has horrible statistics, and breastfeeding rates are not so robust and not really long lived. And so, but that's cultural. These cultural supports, a lot of times when we get to the mother thinks it's her, it's all on her. But these things aren't there. That influences us, it influences our own personal experience. So when we live in a culture that doesn't have all these supports in place, that's why it's even more important to be made aware of the things that influence your experience and the choices that you can make, or the things that you need to have in place in order to have a successful experience and a more positive experience, right? Because in American culture, these other countries look a little bit different. American culture it doesn't have them. You're kind of all on your own, right? So let's look at the next influence. So our immediate family and our extended family and friends are influenced, right, by this culture at large. And so that can determine, impact the way they influence us, right? So is there a history of breastfeeding and natural birth, or positive birth experience of closeness between infants and their family? Are those supports there or not there? Does our family come out to help us just for a couple days or a week postpartum, but then there's like nothing else there? So some families have a lot of rich knowledge. That's a different place to be in as a nuclear family than a family that doesn't have that rich knowledge or understanding. And it's not completely their fault, because it's influenced by the culture at large and the larger forces than us, right? So what does this look like? So when we have a lot of support and We have a robust history of healthy relationships, healthy family members, breastfeeding and birth. That makes a big difference in how we approach going into our labor and birth. And that also has impact on our partner. Now, there's not much that we can influence about our family or the culture at large, right, at this point. Then we talk about our partners. Now, partner, that's someone we can have an influence on. I think most mothers tend to be the drivers of the home in their families. They may be the one deciding about whether we're going to get prenatal education or not. And so educating your partner, or if you are the partner, it's really important you know how to support the pregnant and postpartum mother and your newborn, because that's going to affect the quality of relationships, right? When a partner is ignorant, afraid, clueless, and we don't need our partner to be perfect, right? Some partners will be more robust at doing these things than other partners. So let's just get them to where they are at their best self, right? But I think the partner is really important that they're made aware of the limitations and the lack of knowledge sometimes in these other components, because it really impacts our baby who's within all of this. And ultimately, even if we have cultural impacts, right, on our baby, on our relationship, the child looks to you and that relationship, right? Not many of us will look at our relationship with our parents and go, oh, that was just a cultural. We have a personal relationship with our parents. And that starts in pregnancy, continues through labor and birth and the early years of life. We build on those. So making sure the partner is aware, knows, and that can make them more relaxed and a better parent. They know what they're capable of doing, what they can do, they have options. So yeah, you can make some type of influence. You can't make your partner do everything, right? But you can make them stronger and to know, more confident. And we have the mother, right? So the mother, big influence for us as mothers, right? We know, right? I'm telling you, you're letting you know there's not enough supports in American society. And some of us have more supportive and knowledgeable families than others. Some of our partners may be more supportive or less supportive, depending on personality and what we choose to do in pregnancy. I recommend making sure your partner is really educated and knows what to do. And then moms, you're being brought into yourself. Part of pregnancy is preparing for this enormous transition you're going to make in labor and birth that is forging you into being a mother. You're being forged, changed, ultimately. So that preparation ahead of time, knowing that you can come into communication with your baby, that you can be made aware of where the strengths are in your family and society, and where there's weaknesses that you and your baby, the weaknesses affect you and your baby. Culture could give, doesn't care, right? Whether your needs are met, but you ultimately experience whether your needs are met and whether you're fully supported or and can impact your decision-making process, right? So there's a lot of things in culture that negatively impact breastfeeding and the labor and birth experience and the immediate postpartum experience that leave these individuals, the mother and baby, with really strong feelings. It could be positive or it could be really negative. My preference is that it's more positive for you and that you both feel supported. So as a mother, what is being done to build up your confidence, to help you trust your intuition, to know, to make you into more relationship with your beautiful child, right? So both in pregnancy and when your baby's out and you're building your relationship, right? That relationship together. Because the decisions we make as parents which is influenced by our family and our society, impact these relationships. For me, it was always about really making sure that my child knew, had a felt sense of love. And so we can look at that, and those things don't have to be perfect, right? They're never perfect. But the information that we have, knowing about how babies are designed, nature's template for all of these things, how whatever decisions we need to make ultimately is important in honoring that and honoring our relationships. And it influences that. So that, when I think about culture, right? Culture is made out of all of us, right? I could only hold this many in this one hand, but just think about your family too. We'll put it there. And culture is made up of all of us. So when we start being there for each other, sharing information, support, resources, making everyone aware, right? That influences culture at large. So that's where I want to be as an educator. I want you to be able to make choices that are right for your family. And so you understand the influences on that, because this beginning time, it ripples out. It's very hard to fix things way down the line. We're like, oh, we missed the boat. We can try, we can do things, but it's very helpful to know what's happening in the beginning. And we're not a culture that honors this. We don't honor this intuition of the mother and the family and the baby. So understanding that's really important. It will really grow exponentially in your family. And it's really exciting to feel that love in your family, to feel the decision-making process. It's not always easy. It's hard. Sometimes it does require going and get some cultural norms. And that's okay. That's okay. That's going to build up your strength as a family. So ultimately, I feel like when I teach, when I support families, I'm interested in you coming into yourself, building up your intuition, your strength, your confidence as a mother and partner, family, honoring your child, because ultimately that will bring you happiness and well-being and a lot of joy. Not that it's always easy. Sometimes it's hard, but I think that's really, really important. And that's where I want you to go. And I really want you to think about. So today, if you're pregnant, right? Or if you have a new baby, just take a moment to be in relationship and think about, what is the relationship you want to have with your child? And are your actions facilitating that goal? A lot of times we look outside ourselves, but I want you to look within and to look at your child. And all that is right there with you now. So just think about that today. Thank you for listening. I will come back with more tips and tidbits as I move forward. You can check me out at www.naturalbeginningsla.com, and I will see you in the future. Have a beautiful day.